Howdy y'all, Jackson here with Trick Studios, and welcome to the Week 1 recap of the World Virtual League of Gridiron Football. For everybody watching, I guess I haven't been looking at the Operation Sports thing, the World Virtual League of Gridiron Football is a fantasy football league that runs on a custom text sim that allows me to pit teams compiled of historical players against one another, similar to what goes on in What If Sports. So instead of individual players on defense and individual players on offensive line, you just pick an entire defensive unit or an offensive line unit. Anyways, let's just hop into the teams so you can meet the teams and the players that were drafted, and then get into Week 1. First off, we have the Anchorage Polar Bears. They are a founding league member. They are headquartered in Anchorage, Alaska. They play their home games at the Anchorage Football Stadium, which has a capacity of 4,500. They follow a professional rule set. That's one other interesting thing that goes on in the World Virtual League of Gridiron Football, is that depending on your stadium location, you can play different rule sets, whether it be professional, collegiate, Canadian, or indoor. The Polar Bears play in the Elite Conference, and they are rival with the Nashville Nightmares. The Nashville Nightmare, not plural, of the Star Conference. Their head coach is 1985 Mike Ditka. They have a generic offensive coordinator, and Ditka is also their defensive coordinator. You will get to know the rest of their players because when I go through the draft, but that's where the head coaches are also coming from. The next up is the Champaign-Urbana Otter Guys. They are a founding league member. They are headquartered in Champaign, Illinois. They play their home games at the State Farm Center. Their capacity of 15,500. This is one of the interesting things. They are the only indoor rule set team in the league right now. They play in the Elite Conference, and they are rivals with the Star Conference's Pawnee Little Sebastians. Their head coach is 2017 Kevin Kelly. If you're unfamiliar with who that is, he is a high school head coach in Little Rock, Arkansas that never punts. So we should see some interesting offensive performances coming from the Otter Guys. Their offensive coordinator is Jim Zorn from 2009 and 2005 Lovie Smith. Next up we have the Green Bay Northmen. They are founding league member, obviously. Headquartered in Green Bay, Wisconsin, play their home games at Lambeau Field. Capacity of 81,441. Follow the professional rule set, play in the League Conference, and they are rivals with the Star Conference Windy City Gust. Their head coach is 1996 Mike Holmgren, and he is also their offensive coordinator, and they have a generic defensive coordinator. Next up is the Shooter Shoots, founding league member, headquartered in Denver, Colorado, so they play their home games at Bronco Stadium at Mile High. Capacity of 76,125. They follow the professional rule set, play in the Elite Conference, rivals with the Star Conference's Golden Tate Warriors. Their head coach is 2014 Pete Carroll. He's also their offensive coordinator, and they have a generic defensive coordinator. The Golden Tate Warriors, the next team up, they're a founding league member, obviously, headquartered in New York, New York. Play their home games at MetLife Stadium. Capacity of 82,550. Follow the professional rule set, play in the Star Conference, and are rivals with the aforementioned Shooter Shoots. Head coach is 1930 Newt Rockney from Notre Dame. He's also their offensive coordinator, and their defensive coordinator is the generic. The Nashville Nightmares is the next team up, founding league member, headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Play their home games at Vanderbilt Stadium. Capacity of 40,550. They follow the professional rule set, play in the Star Conference, and are rivals with the Anchorage Polar Bears. Their head coach is 2006 Herm Edwards, and he's also serves as their offensive coordinator, and their defensive coordinator is 2009 Rex Ryan. Next up is the Pawnee Little Sebastians, founding league member, headquartered in Muncie, Indiana. They play their games at Schumann Stadium. Capacity of 22,500. Follow the collegiate rule set, play in the Star Conference, and rivals the Elite Conference's Champaign-Urbana Otter Guys. Head coach is 2007 Bill Belichick, who also serves as their OC, and their DC is generic. The final team in the inaugural season is the Windy City Gust. Founding league member, they're headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. Play their home games at Ryan Field, capacity of 47,130. They follow the collegiate rule set, play in the Star Conference, and rival with the Elite Conference's Green Bay Northmen. Their head coach is 1997 Tom Osborne. He also serves as their offensive coordinator, and their defensive coordinator is 1927 Curly Lambeau. Well, let's get into the inaugural draft. As you can see, Green Bay was awarded the first overall pick. They won in a random number generator, and this is a serpentine style draft. So Green Bay selected Aaron Rodgers with the first overall pick. This is where the units come in. With the second overall pick, Nashville selected the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. The Otter Guys selected the 1985 Chicago Bears defense. Golden Tate selected 1984 Dan Marino. Anchorage selected 1987 Bo Jackson. Pawnee selected 2018 Ryan Fitzpatrick. Shooter selected 2007 Tim Tebow, and Windy City selected 2014 Jonathan Crompton. As you can see, you're also able to draft players from many different leagues. Their statistics take a hit based on how players from one league have performed in other leagues in back-to-back years. Round 2, Windy City got the first overall pick because of serpentine style, or the first pick in the round because of the serpentine style. Tom Osborne was the pick. Randy Moss is the shooter's pick. Pawnee selected the 2004 Buffalo Bills. Anchorage selected Mike Ditka. Golden Tate selected the 2000 Miami Hurricanes. Champaign-Urbana selected Andrew Luck. Nashville selected Rex Ryan, and Green Bay LaDainian Tomlinson. Round 3, Mike Holmgren, 2004 Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, 2018 Indianapolis Colts offensive line, 1994 Dallas Cowboys offensive line, 2012 Calvin Johnson, 2012 Devontae Adams, 2015 Denver Broncos, 1965 Gale Sayers, 1944 Glenn Davis, 2004 Tony Gonzalez, 1997 Denver Broncos O-line, 2013 Seattle Seahawks defense, 2005 Reggie Bush, 2017 Kevin Kelly, 1993 Jerome Bettis, 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense, 1987 Jerry Rice, 2006 Herm Edwards, 2005 Lovie Smith, 2006 Chad Johnson, 1972 Oakland Raiders offensive line, 2007 Bill Belichick, 1988 Barry Sanders, 1953 Cleveland Browns offensive line. Obviously, defense, 1927 Green Bay Packers defense. This is another thing where have you noticed with the head coach or the defensive coordinator for the Windy City Gus also comes from the units. The units are also able to give out players to secondary positions if they also qualify for them. So, for example, the Green Bay Packers defense also gives them their defensive coordinator because Curly Lambeau was a player coach. There's also returners that are coming from defenses. And Lou Groza, who's a Windy City Gus kicker, also comes for their offensive line. But you'll see that as the season progresses on the stat pages over on Operation Sports. So the next pick obviously was 2014 Pete Carroll, 2000 Torrey Holt, 1999 Kurt Warner, 1930 Knute Rockne, 2009 Jim Thorne, 2012 Devin Gardner, and the Mr. Irrelevance of the inaugural draft was the 2000 St. Louis offensive line. So let's get into the games. The first game of the week with Green Bay at Shooter, where the Shooters came up winners 27-16. Aaron Rodgers was 21 of 35 for 226 yards, touchdown, interception. LaDainian Tomlinson 14 carries, 58 yards, touchdown. Jerry Rice 4 receptions, 64 yards, and touchdown. Over on the winning side, the Shooters, Tim Tebow with 18 of 31 for 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Barry Sanders with 22 carries, 99 yards, touchdown. Randy Moss had 5 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Alright, we now head over to the next game of the week, Golden Tate at Nashville, where the Nightmare came away with a 10-7 3-point win. Dan Marino was 4 of 8 for 39 yards. Reggie Bush had 12 carries for 68 yards, a touchdown, and Chad Johnson had 1 reception for 12 yards. Devin Gardner for the Nightmare was 12 of 22 for 123 yards, a touchdown, interception. Jerome Bettis was had 23 carries for 91 yards. He was also their leading receiver, or he was the leading receiver of a non-generic player, so that's why his stats are recorded here with 2 receptions and 21 yards. Now head over to the third game of the week at Pawnee at Windy City, where the Gus came away with a 48-30 high-scoring endeavor, as the Little Sebastian's Ryan Fitzpatrick was 24 of 47 for 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Ryan Fitzpatrick was also the leading non-generic rusher with 4 carries, 17 yards. Torrey Holt had 7 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. Over for the Gus, Jonathan Crompton with 11 of 19, 143 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Glenn Davis had 34 carries, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was also their leading receiver with 2 receptions, 37 yards, and a touchdown. We now head over to Anchorage at Champaign-Urbana, which is our game of the week. So we're actually going to hop into there and show you some visuals to go with it. And here the scoring would start midway through the first, as Andrew Luck would find a generic receiver for the score. After a defensive stop, their generic running back would get in from 2 yards out, and after a 2-point conversion to make up for the last missed one, they'd go up 14-0. Anchorage would finally get on the board in the second, as Bo Jackson would get in from 4 yards out. Champaign-Urbana would continue to roll offensively though, as another generic running back would get in from a yard out. Anchorage would respond though as the half was coming to a close, as Warner would hit Jackson on a screen to get into the end zone and make it a 7-point game. They'd then tie things up in the third as their generic running back would get in from a yard out. And they'd take the lead early in the fourth as Jackson would also get in from 1 yard out. Luck and the Otter guys would respond though, as he would find a generic receiver deep to tie things back up at 28. Anchorage would march right back down the field though, and then Bo Jackson would break off this big run to retake the lead. And then just to put a dagger in it as the game was coming to a close, Warner would throw a deep pass of his own, connecting with Calvin Johnson for the score. Alright, on to the box score. As you all remember, obviously, the Polar Bears came away with the 41-28 win. Kurt Warner was 10 of 17 for 96 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Bo Jackson had 13 carries for 65 yards and 3 touchdowns. Calvin Johnson had 2 receptions, 27 yards and a touchdown. Andrew Luck was 20 of 28 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was also their leading rusher of non-generics with 4 carries and 9 yards. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this inaugural episode of the inaugural season recap of the World Virtual League of Gridiron Football. Let me know who's your favorite team in the comments, and any predictions you have for how the season might go. Again, thank you for watching. Bye.